the day Ozzy Osbourne and Paul McCartney gave a concert for the homeless. The Black Beatles Birmingham breathed like a sleeping iron beast that evening, smokestacks, standing like blackened fingers against a bruised sky, rain stippling puddles into rippling vinyl. Ozzy Osbourne stepped out of the studio with the careful tenderness of a man who had spent a lifetime making noise and learning when to be quiet. His breath fogged. A bus gasped past. Somewhere a night train moaned. Before we begin, tell us where in the world you're watching from. If you love stories that shine light into the darkness of music, subscribe to Voices of Darkness, tap the bell, and join our family, where every tale carries a heartbeat of truth. Then came that sound, a thin voice frayed like a guitar string about to snap. Not words at first, just the tremble of a human plea. He stilled, listened the way he once listened for a drummer's count-in behind feverish crowd roar. The voice came again, threading through the alley wind. "Help, please!" Ozzy followed, boots tapping a metronome along slick cobbles into one of Birmingham's old industrial parks. The place was a museum of ghosts, chain-link fences, shuttered warehouses, a tired oak shouldering the rain like an old soldier. Beneath it, a small shape in black. She crouched there, a gothic sparrow with mascara tracks like war paint. Her boots were muddy, her necklaces shattered, a black skirt torn at the hem. 3 silhouettes faded toward the park exit, laughter clinking like empty bottles. One of them shouted over his shoulder, "We're leaving you here, weird girl. Maybe you'll learn to dress normal." Ozzy's jaw set. And for a breath, it wasn't 2020's Birmingham. It was Aston, 1968, when kids sneered at long hair and called music a disease. He kneeled, palms open, voice soft. "Hey, love. You hurt?" Blue eyes looked up, raw and bright as new flame. I'm fine," she managed, just shaken. She glanced at the departing boys, then down at the mud eating her boots. Her bag was gone. So were pieces of herself. "What's your name?" Emma Williams." A breath later, as recognition landed, "Are you Ozzy Osbourne?" He smiled, the kind of smile that says a storm can sit down and have tea. "That's what the passport says." She almost laughed, even in the rain. "What did they take?" "My bag. CDs, posters, tickets. They said the music's devil stuff. Black metal, Emperor, Dark Throne. They think it makes me wrong." "Music doesn't make people wrong," Ozzy said, standing, offering his hand. "It makes them heard. Come on, Emma, let's get your voice back." They found the boys by the park's rusted gate, rifling through Emma's things under a flicker of sodium light. Jason, the tall one, held an Emperor jewel case like a piece of radioactive waste. Kyle, broad, impatient, fanned concert tickets. Marcus pinched a signed poster. Ozzy stepped into the light. The sodium bulb steadied as if even electricity wanted to stand at attention. "Oi," he called, not loud, just final. They turned. The 3 expressions swung through disbelief into a panic, trying to look like swagger. Jason swallowed. "We were just—" "It's nothing to do with you, mate." "Wrong," Ozzy said, ambling forward with that particular stage gravity, the kind that turns a walk into a sermon. "It's to do with respect." "Hand her bag back," Kyle tried to laugh. "She's weird." "The music's not normal." "Normal?" Ozzy tilted his head. "You lads running the department of normal now? Congratulations." He pointed at the Emperor case. "That record's more complicated than your entire Spotify history. You know what harmony means? Arrangement? Atmosphere. Now, of course you don't, because normal is a prison with comfortable wallpaper." Marcus scoffed, but it came out thin. "They worship the devil." Ozzy chuckled, low and old as an engine. "People been saying that to me for 50 years. Guess what? The devil never asked me for royalties." His eyes flared with a remembered flame, then cooled. "Music is a mirror. Sometimes it shows you a storm so you can learn the weather inside yourself." Jason's grip loosened. The Emperor case slipped, caught by Ozzy's hand before it spilled. He passed it to Emma without looking away from the boys. "You're going to apologize properly. Then you're going to leave her alone. Forever. Or you'll find your headmaster, your parents, and half this city know you as thieves and bullies by morning." "I know a microphone or two." Silence. The rain sounded like a cautious audience. The boys looked at one another and reassembled their faces into contrition. "Sorry," Jason muttered. Emma lifted her chin. She wasn't the cowering bird anymore. "Say it like you mean it," she said, surprising herself. Jason's shoulders sank. "We're sorry, Emma. We won't bother you again." "Good lads," Ozzy said. "Now remember this. Difference is not a defect. It's the spark that keeps the world from going dark. They slunk away, swallowed by the wet orange distance. Emma clutched her bag to her chest. You didn't shout, she said softly. You didn't swing, you just made them see. Sometimes the loudest sound is the truth, Ozzy replied. Now let's trade you one miracle for another. You ever seen where heavy metal learned to walk? Her eyes widened. The Black Sabbath place? He winked. Come on, kid. I'll show you where we learned to make thunder. The old studio didn't look like destiny from the outside, just brick and memory. Inside it breathed history. Cables asleep like black snakes. A Marshall half-stack hunched like a saint in a chapel. Framed photos of four lads who'd dragged a planet into a new orbit by accident and insistence. Ozzy ran his palm along a battered amp. Tony found a sound one day, heavy like a foundry door, sweet as sin, and the world bent to listen. He gestured to a wall mic. Sang paranoid with that thing. Might still smell the sweat. Emma's breath fogged the glass of a display frame. A scuffed Ibanez, strings tarnished like rings on an old king's fingers. Can I? Go on, Ozzy said. Music belongs to the living. She took it as if lifting a relic from a river. Her fingers found the fretboard like a pilgrim rediscovering a road. She glanced at him, seeking permission for something bolder. What have you got? He asked. She exhaled, and her hands drew a dark cathedral into the air. I am the black wizard spiraling out. Thin at first, then thicker, gathering room dust and old stories until the notes sounded like fresh rain on an ancient anvil. The line of the riff braided with the low hum of the room, a duet with ghosts. Ozzy grabbed a nearby bass. He wasn't there to impress. He laid a slow, anchoring pulse beneath her storm, letting the atmosphere breathe. The lights seemed warmer. The city outside grew quiet to listen. They finished on a note that felt like a door closing gently. Ozzy smiled, teeth bright in the dim. You've got touch, Emma, not just speed, taste. I learned from YouTube. And 2 friends from school, she said, shy again. Yes, but a different kind of shy. The kind that knows it carries something sacred. He set the bass down, turned a stool around, and leaned on it. Talent's a seed. It needs a bit of rain and someone to tell the sun where you live. How about lessons? I know a bloke who teaches metal and cares more about the heart than the metronome. She blinked, tears trying to decide if they were allowed. My family can't. Let me worry about the receipt, he said. You worry about the riff. He pointed to a corkboard with handwritten notes. Saturday sessions, young bloods. Names were pinned with thumbtacks. Josh, drums, death metal. Sarah, vocals, doom. A blank card stared like a stage. Pick up a pen, Ozzy said. Write Emma, guitar, black metal. We rehearse on Saturdays. There's biscuits and too much noise. She laughed, the sound already learning how to occupy the room. When she wrote her name, the pen squeaked in the quiet like a promise being signed. Play me something of yours, Ozzy said. Not Emperor. Not Sabbath. Emma. She swallowed, then formed a shape on the fretboard that didn't belong to anyone else. A slow, minor melody that sounded like a window opening at midnight. He closed his eyes. The room leaned closer. That right there, he said when the final note found the floor. That's a person standing up. A week is nothing to a city, but it can be a lifetime to a kid. When Saturday came, the studio door thumped open to rain-wet trainers and shy hellos. Josh, 16. Wiry and drumming on everything like his hands couldn't find rest if they tried. Sarah, 17, braided hair and eyes like dusk, set a microphone to the correct height by pure instinct. Emma entered in her Emperor tee. Guitar case in one hand, a new spine in the other. Emma, Ozzy called from the mixing board. Meet your conspirators. Josh, death metal heartbeat. Sarah, doom siren. This, he added to the room, is Emma, black metal architect. Josh grinned. We starting a supergroup or a war? Same thing, Sarah said. They played. Badly at first, like every band that ever mattered. Tempos fought. Egos sniffed like alley cats. Then came the click. Always sudden, never explainable. The moment 3 separate storms find they can make rain together. Josh discovered he could pull blast beats back a hair to let Emma's tremolo patterns weave. Sarah learned to let silence widen before her low melancholic tones arrived like a tide. Emma realized she didn't need to fill all the space. She could draw it. Ozzy didn't conduct so much as garden. A nod here. A lifted brow there. The occasional story like a fence to keep them from running off cliffs. They named themselves Darkened Dreams because it sounded like a place both safe and dangerous. A room where you bring your shadows and discover they can sing. In the second week, Emma stayed late. Her fingers were raw, mind buzzing. "What if," she said to Ozzy, "we wrote something about not belonging? About walking through school hallways like a ghost?" He gestured to the whiteboard of bad ideas and good attempts. "Write the title." She hesitated, then chalked, "Cathedral of Outsiders." The song grew like ivy, thin lines seeking brick, thickening into a wall of sound with windows. Emma carved a lead melody that felt like walking into cold and finding it welcoming. Josh built the foundation in threes that felt like steps up a long stone stair. Sarah wrote a lyric that made Ozzy look away for a second, pretend he had something in his eye. "We're the choir they forgot to name. We're the fire that learned to reign. In the Cathedral of Outsiders, every echo knows our pain." Emma's solo didn't shred. It spoke, bends like sighs. A final note held until it almost broke but didn't. "Again," Ozzy said, voice low with pride, "let the walls remember you." They played it 3 more times. The room did. At school, Jason and the others learned how small a person feels when they meet a gaze that doesn't need their permission to exist. Emma walked past them and let the hallway widen. Rumors ran. About a studio, about a legend, about a girl who wouldn't bow. The rumors were true in all the ways that mattered and wrong in all the ways that didn't. A month later, the old studio hosted a small showcase. Just locals and the handful of ghosts that always come when amplifiers warm. Folding chairs, thermoses of tea, a banner hand-painted by Sarah's little sister. On the makeshift poster, Youngbloods, Darkened Dreams, plus Friends. Backstage, if you could call a hallway with a broom closet a backstage, Emma sat with her guitar across her lap, fingers tracing the fret markers like rosary beads. She felt every old bruise and every healed one. She felt the night she cried beneath the oak, and the day she wrote her name on a card and the sound of Ozzy's bass under her first brave riff. He leaned against the doorframe, arms folded. "Stage'll give you what you give it," he said. "Give it the truth," she nodded. "What if my voice shakes? Then the note will tremble for you," he said. "And someone out there will hear their own tremble and know they're not alone." They took the stage. Josh counted in with sticks clicking like anxious teeth. The first song went by in a blur of light and breath. Then they set up Cathedral of Outsiders. Emma stepped to the mic. The crowd was small. Neighbors, parents, a handful of city kids. But in that room the number didn't matter. It never did. "This is for anyone who's been told they're too much or too little," she said. "Anyone whose clothes are wrong, whose music is wrong. Anyone who's been laughed at for the shape of their silence." She met Ozzy's eyes off stage. He nodded once. The opening riff rose like mist over stone. Josh's drums weren't loud. They were deep. Sarah's first line carried the taste of rain. Emma's fingers found that solo again, the one that didn't brag. It told. The final note held, and the room held with it, every chest forgetting to breathe until it landed like a bird coming home. Silence, then a sound bigger than the chairs. Not just applause, permission. The room said, "We see you." After people mingled awkwardly in the way of British applause, compliments disguised as comments about the weather. A retired steelworker shook Emma's hand and said, "Didn't understand a word and felt everyone." Sarah's mom cried on a paper cup. Jason stood near the back, hood up, complicated. He approached without swagger. "I was wrong," he said, no mumble this time. "About you. About the music." Emma looked at him for a long second, then nodded. "Thanks for coming." He did something that looked like a bow if you squinted, then left. Later, when the chairs folded and the tea went cold, Emma and Ozzy sat on the edge of the stage facing the empty room like sailors watching a quiet sea. "You gave me a life," she said. "I gave you a door," he corrected. "You walked through." She glanced at the corkboard where her name still hung by a thumbtack. "Do you ever get tired of carrying people?" He considered. "You don't carry people. You carry torches. If you're lucky you light one and they run with it, then you can rest." She looked down at her guitar and smiled. "Then rest, Mr. Osbourne. We'll run." He laughed, the sound scratching at the ceiling paint. "Call me Ozzy. Or better, call me when you need a bass player who can barely keep up." They turned off the lights. The room kept glowing anyway. Time moved like music, fast where you wanted it slow, slow where you wanted to race. Emma's lessons continued. Dark and Dreams wrote a second song that sounded like a cathedral with broken windows letting in weather. They played in a youth center that smelled of gym mats and hope. A local zine called their set, "A Thunder Made of Tenderness." The phrase stuck. On a rainy weekday, Ozzy found himself alone in the old studio, dust motes doing a lazy ballet in the warm lamplight. He touched the wall, felt the hum of 1,000 songs. He remembered being a kid with a voice most people called noise. He remembered a city that taught him both the weight and the worth of steel. He remembered a girl beneath an oak tree whose voice trembled and then learned to fly. He whispered to the empty room as if it were an old friend. "It's not the noise that defines us. It's the truth behind it." Outside, the rain eased. Somewhere in Birmingham, 3 teenagers argued about snare tone, and a mother told her daughter she sounded brave, and a boy decided to grow his hair out. And in a small bedroom colored by band posters and hope, Emma bent a note into a smile that no one could take from her again. If this story moved you, share it with a friend who understands the power of music, empathy, and rebellion. Smash that like button. Drop a comment with the words "Darkness Unites" and make sure you're subscribed to Voices of Darkness for more cinematic tales of legends and souls who dared to be different.